Have you ever felt like you're walking on eggshells around someone in your life, always trying to please them but never quite succeeding? It's a feeling that's hard to shake, isn't it? You may be struggling to put a name to this experience, but it's called narcissistic abuse. Narcissistic abuse is a type of emotional and psychological harm inflicted by individuals who display narcissistic tendencies. These individuals often possess an inflated sense of their own importance, a deep need for excessive attention and admiration, and a lack of empathy for others. But behind this mask of extreme confidence lies a fragile self-esteem that's vulnerable to the slightest criticism. This kind of abuse can occur in various relationships. It could be a partner, a parent, a friend, or even a boss. It often goes unrecognized because it doesn't always involve physical violence. Instead, it's marked by a pattern of subtle tactics, including manipulation, criticism, and gaslighting, designed to undermine the self-esteem of the victim, making them feel worthless and question their own perception of reality. Narcissistic abuse is insidious, creeping into your life slowly until it's all-consuming. It's like being in a thick fog where you can't see clearly, and each step forward feels uncertain and scary. Recognizing narcissistic abuse is the first step towards healing. It's about understanding that the problem isn't you, it's the abusive behavior of the narcissist. The fault lies not in your stars, but in the narcissist's inability to truly love and respect others. As we journey through this video, we aim to shed light on this topic, to help you or someone you know identify the signs of narcissistic abuse. Recognizing these signs is not about labeling or demonizing people, but about understanding patterns of behavior that can lead to harm and taking steps to protect oneself. In this video, we will delve into 9 signs you've been abused by a narcissist, a crucial first step to understanding and healing. The first sign of narcissistic abuse is hypervigilance. Hypervigilance is a state of heightened awareness, an intense, almost obsessive focus on the environment around you. It's like having your internal alarm system on high alert 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Now, let's link this to narcissistic abuse. When you're in a relationship with a narcissist, you often find yourself constantly on edge. You become overly sensitive to the moods, reactions, and behaviors of the narcissist. You're always trying to anticipate their next move, their next mood swing, their next outburst. This isn't about being attentive or considerate, it's about survival. This hypervigilance is a natural response to an unpredictable and volatile environment. It's your mind and body trying to protect you, trying to minimize the harm by always being ready for the next attack, the next wave of manipulation. It's like living in a battlefield where the enemy could strike at any moment and from any direction. But here's the thing, this state of constant high alert takes a toll on you. It drains you emotionally, physically, and mentally. You're always stressed, always anxious, always waiting for the other shoe to drop. You're never at ease, never at peace. And that's no way to live. Now, you might be thinking, but isn't hypervigilance a sign of other issues too, like anxiety disorders or PTSD? And you're right. But in the context of a relationship with a narcissist, it's often one of the earliest and most telling signs. It's a red flag that something is seriously wrong, that the dynamics of the relationship are not healthy. So if you find yourself in this state of constant alert, constantly trying to read and react to the moods of someone else, it might be time to take a step back and evaluate your situation. It's not normal and it's not healthy. The heightened state of alert, always being on your toes, is a classic sign of narcissistic abuse. Remember, recognizing the signs is the first step towards healing. The second sign is trauma bonding. Now, you might be wondering, what exactly is trauma bonding? It's a complex and powerful dynamic that occurs in abusive relationships. It's an emotional attachment, a bond that forms between an abuser and the person they are abusing, often due to the cycle of violence and reconciliation. Let's delve a bit deeper into this cycle of abuse. It typically starts with tension building, where the abuser begins to act out in ways that create a tense environment. This phase is followed by an incident of abuse, which can take many forms such as verbal, physical, or emotional maltreatment. After the incident, there's often a reconciliation phase where the abuser may apologize, show remorse, and promise it won't happen again. This is where the bond strengthens, as the victim starts to believe that the abuser is truly sorry and things will change. In between these cycles, there's something called intermittent reinforcement. This is when the abuser alternates between rewarding and punishing behavior, creating a sense of unpredictability. The reward phase can make the victim believe that the abuser has changed, reinforcing the bond and trapping the victim in the relationship. It's crucial to understand that this trauma bond can be incredibly strong and difficult to break. It's not simply a matter of feelings, it's a psychological response to prolonged exposure to abuse. This bond can lead victims to excuse their abuser's actions, blame themselves, and even return to the abusive situation time and time again. So, how can you recognize if you're in a trauma bond? You might find yourself constantly making excuses for your partner's abusive behavior or feeling trapped in the relationship despite the abuse. You may also experience intense feelings of loyalty or attraction towards your abuser even after they've hurt you. If you find yourself stuck in a cycle of abuse and reconciliation, you may be experiencing trauma bonding. Understanding this concept is a significant step towards breaking free from the cycle of abuse and moving towards healing and recovery. The third sign of narcissistic abuse is loss of personal identity. When we talk about loss of identity, we're referring to a profound disconnection from your own passions, desires, and aspirations. Imagine waking up one day and realizing you no longer recognize yourself. The things you once loved, the hobbies you used to enjoy, the dreams you had for your future, they all seem to have faded into oblivion. This is not a sudden occurrence, it's a gradual process, much like a slow leak in a tire, where you lose bits of yourself over time, often without realizing it. Why does this happen? Well, narcissists are master manipulators. They have a knack for making their needs, desires, and opinions eclipse yours. They may belittle your interests, ridicule your ambitions, or simply ignore them. Over time, you might find yourself adopting their preferences, mirroring their opinions, and relegating your own desires to the back burner. This loss of identity often manifests itself as a sense of emptiness or confusion. You may feel like a ship adrift at sea, without a compass or a destination. You might look in the mirror and wonder, who am I really? It's important to understand that this is not a personal failing. It's a survival strategy, a subconscious way of trying to keep the peace and avoid conflict. You may think that by making yourself smaller, by becoming a shadow of the person you once were, you can appease the narcissist and make things better. But in reality, it's a form of self-abandonment. So how do you reclaim your identity? Start by reconnecting with your interests and passions. Remember what used to bring you joy, and find ways to incorporate those things back into your life. Seek support from trusted friends, family members, or professionals who can help you navigate this journey. When your life revolves around the abuser and you've lost touch with who you are, it's a clear sign of narcissistic abuse. The fourth sign is gaslighting. Gaslighting is an insidious form of psychological manipulation where the abuser seeks to sow seeds of doubt in the victim, making them question their own memory, perception, or sanity. It's like being trapped in a maze of mirrors where every reflection distorts reality, causing confusion and self-doubt. Imagine this scenario. You're certain you've discussed a particular issue with the narcissist in your life. However, they flatly deny it ever happened. Despite your clear recollection, the narcissist insists you're mistaken, implying you're forgetful or even losing your grip on reality. This is a classic example of gaslighting. The purpose of gaslighting is to destabilize you, to shake your confidence in your own perception of events. Over time, victims of gaslighting may start to question their own memory and sanity, eventually becoming more dependent on the narcissist for their version of reality. But it's not just about denying past events. Sometimes the narcissist may also twist the context or the meaning of a conversation, making you feel like you've misunderstood or overreacted. For instance, they might say something hurtful, then later dismiss it as a joke, accusing you of being too sensitive. The key to recognizing gaslighting is to trust in your own experiences and perceptions. If something feels off, it probably is. Remember, everyone has the right to their own thoughts, feelings, and perceptions. If someone consistently makes you doubt these, it could very well be a sign of gaslighting. Gaslighting is a powerful manipulation tactic used by narcissists to control and confuse their victims. But remember, knowledge is power. Recognizing these tactics is the first step in reclaiming your reality and breaking free from the narcissist's control. The fifth sign of narcissistic abuse is physical symptoms. Often we underestimate the impact of emotional strain on our physical health. However, when it comes to narcissistic abuse, the constant state of stress and tension can lead to a host of physical symptoms that are difficult to ignore. Chronic stress is a silent foe. It slowly but surely wears down your body's defenses, leaving you vulnerable to a variety of health issues. Imagine stress as a continuous, relentless rain, eroding the strength and resilience of your body over time. One of the most common manifestations of this stress is insomnia. You may find yourself lying awake at night, your mind buzzing with thoughts and worries. This lack of sleep only exacerbates the effects of stress, creating a vicious cycle that is hard to break. Anxiety is another frequent symptom. It's a constant companion, a nagging worry that something is wrong even when everything seems to be okay. It's like a persistent itch, always there in the background, making it hard for you to relax or enjoy life. Depression often follows close on the heels of anxiety. It's a heavy weight dragging you down, making every day feel like an uphill battle. It's a grey cloud that dims the colour and joy of life, making everything seem dull and hopeless. Other physical symptoms could include unexplained aches and pains, frequent illnesses due to a weakened immune system, or even changes in appetite and weight. These are all signs that your body is under a tremendous amount of stress. But remember, our bodies are smarter than we give them credit for. They have their ways of signaling when something is wrong. These physical symptoms are not just random occurrences. They are your body's way of raising a red flag, of telling you that it's time to seek help. Your body might be telling you something's wrong, even if you can't put your finger on it. Listen to it. The sixth sign is low self-esteem. Now, let's delve into how this plays out. When one is in a relationship with a narcissist, the constant negativity, criticism, and manipulation can slowly chip away at their self-esteem. It's like a tire with a small puncture. Air keeps seeping out little by little, and before long, the tire is flat. In the same way, a person's self-esteem can deflate under the relentless pressure of a narcissist's behaviors. The narcissist might belittle your accomplishments or compare you unfavorably to others. They may make you feel like you're never good enough or that you're always to blame for things that go wrong. This can lead to you questioning your worth, feeling inadequate, and doubting your abilities. This constant self-doubt and feeling of worthlessness is not a reflection of who you truly are. It's a reflection of the narcissist's manipulation. They create a narrative that keeps you feeling small, so they can maintain control and keep themselves on a pedestal. It's important to remember that everyone has inherent worth. You are not defined by what a narcissist, or anyone else for that matter, says or thinks about you. You have the right to feel good about yourself, to be proud of your accomplishments, and to have confidence in your abilities. Overcoming this low self-esteem isn't easy, but it's possible. It starts with recognizing the problem. Understanding that you're not worthless, you're not inadequate, but you're in an environment that's making you feel this way. Seeking professional help can also be tremendously beneficial. Therapists and counselors can provide tools and strategies to rebuild your self-esteem and help you regain your sense of self-worth. If you're constantly feeling worthless or doubting your worth, it might be a sign of narcissistic abuse. And remember, it's not a sign of your failure, but a sign that you're being manipulated. Recognize it, seek help, and know that you are worthy. The seventh sign is reliance on the abuser. This might seem paradoxical, but it's a distressingly common trait in situations of narcissistic abuse. The abuser, with their manipulative tactics and power play, often makes the victim feel as though they are the only source of stability or support in their life. This is a calculated move, designed to make it harder for the victim to consider leaving the abusive situation. The abuser can create this dependency in several ways. One of the most common is emotional dependency. The abuser might isolate the victim from their friends and family, making them feel like they have no one else to turn to. They can also belittle and undermine the victim, making them feel worthless and incapable of coping on their own. Financial dependency is another common type of reliance. The abuser might control all the finances, making it difficult for the victim to leave without facing financial hardship. They may even go as far as preventing the victim from working or having access to their own money, further entrenching the cycle of dependency. This reliance is not a reflection of the victim's strength or capability. It's a reflection of the abuser's manipulative tactics. It's important to remember that the victim is often made to feel this way by the abuser, and it's not their fault. Breaking free from this dependency can be challenging, but it's not impossible. It involves recognizing the situation for what it is, seeking help, and working towards independence. This may involve therapy, support groups, financial planning, or legal assistance. Dependency on the very person causing you pain is a common sign of narcissistic abuse. It's a cruel irony, but by recognizing it, we take the first step towards breaking free and reclaiming our lives. The 8th sign is walking on eggshells. This phrase paints a vivid picture, doesn't it? It's like you're tiptoeing over a floor covered with fragile eggshells, constantly on edge, fearful that the slightest misstep will bring about a shower of criticism or conflict. This is a common experience for those who have been in the clutches of a narcissist. The narcissist's volatile temperament and unpredictable reactions create an environment where their victim feels they must be perpetually cautious. They find themselves second-guessing their actions and words, always striving to avoid the narcissist's wrath or disapproval. It's a state of constant anxiety, where you're always on the defensive. You may find yourself overthinking simple interactions, worrying about how the narcissist might interpret your words or actions. You might even go to great lengths to avoid certain topics or activities, simply because you fear they might trigger a negative response. The sad truth is, living in this state of hyper-awareness, always wary of stepping on those proverbial eggshells, can be incredibly draining. It's mentally, emotionally, and even physically exhausting. It robs you of your peace of mind, your spontaneity, your ability to just be yourself. But here's the thing: you should never have to tread so lightly in your own life. You should never have to suppress your feelings, your thoughts, or your personality for fear of someone else's reaction. Remember, healthy relationships are built on mutual respect and understanding. They allow for open, honest communication without fear of reprisal or punishment. If you find yourself constantly tiptoeing around someone, always fearful of their reaction, it's a clear sign that something isn't right. If you're constantly in fear of upsetting someone, it's a sign you're walking on eggshells. The 9th sign is trust issues. When you've been the target of a narcissist's manipulation and deceit, it's not unusual to develop a deep-seated wariness towards others. This skepticism is often a protective mechanism, a defensive wall you build to keep yourself safe after being hurt. It's a natural response to a situation where trust has been repeatedly violated, where your faith in others has been smashed to pieces by a person who was supposed to care about you. Imagine it as trying to build a house on a shaky foundation. The narcissist's constant lies and manipulation make the ground beneath you unsteady, and it becomes impossible to construct anything solid on it. You start doubting your own judgment, questioning your own perceptions, and mistrusting the intentions of others. It's like a fog of mistrust that clouds your relationships, making it hard for you to let others in. This distrust isn't limited to new relationships either. It can seep into your existing relationships, causing you to question the motives of friends, family, and loved ones. You might start to see ulterior motives where there are none, or doubt the sincerity of people who genuinely care about you. It's important to remember that these trust issues are not a reflection of your ability to judge character or make sound decisions. They are the fallout of the narcissistic abuse you've suffered. They are a sign that you've been manipulated by someone who knew how to exploit your trust for their own gain. In the aftermath of narcissistic abuse, rebuilding trust can be a challenging journey. It takes time and patience, and often it requires professional help. But remember, it's a journey worth undertaking because trust is an essential ingredient in healthy, fulfilling relationships. Difficulty trusting others, even those who are well-intentioned, can be a sign of narcissistic abuse. Recognizing these signs is the first step towards recovery from narcissistic abuse. As we draw this conversation to a close, let's take a moment to reflect on what we've learned. We've journeyed through the 9 signs of narcissistic abuse, each significant in its own right. We started with hypervigilance, where you may find yourself always on guard, constantly scanning your surroundings for potential threats. Then, we ventured into the complex world of trauma bonding, a bond that forms through shared intense emotional experiences. We discussed the loss of personal identity, where you might feel like you're disappearing into the background, eclipsed by the narcissist's overpowering personality. We explored the insidious nature of gaslighting, a deceptive technique meant to make you question your version of reality. We touched on the physical symptoms that can manifest as a result of emotional torment, from migraines to chronic fatigue. We delved into the damaging impact on your self-esteem, which can leave you feeling unworthy and incapable. We highlighted the unhealthy reliance on the abuser, a dependence that can make it incredibly challenging to break free. We talked about the sensation of walking on eggshells, a state of perpetual anxiety about triggering the narcissist's wrath. And finally, we tackled trust issues, the walls you erect to protect yourself, which can affect your relationships with others. Understanding these signs is vital, but it's only the beginning. It's essential to seek help and break free from these toxic patterns. You might be feeling overwhelmed right now, and that's okay. It's a lot to process. But remember, you are stronger than you think. If you've seen yourself in these signs, it's crucial to reach out to professionals who can guide you on your path to healing. Therapists, counselors, and support groups can provide the tools you need to reclaim your life. And if you're comfortable, consider sharing your experiences. You never know who might be listening and finding solace in your words. Your narrative can empower others to recognize their own situations and take steps towards recovery. If you found this video useful, please share your experiences with a narcissist in the comments below and subscribe to our channel. Also, don't go just yet though. Watch the next video on your screen. Remember, you are not alone and there is help available. Take that first step towards healing today.